Hi, we are joined in today's Wednesday lunchtime chat, streaming sex across every social media platform we can for, well, lunch break over here, although you're over in Alabama. You can't say Alabama without giving it the whole
You
twang.
have
But we're
to.
joined
You
by
have to.
Glenise Kinard-Moore, the founder of the VDOM, um, founder, and she doesn't want to be called CEO, creator of the VDOM. An amazing, it's like the first app connected prosthetic genitalia that's like controlled by an app. And I'm just going to let you explain it more because otherwise I'm just going to screw it up and it's going to sound disgusting. So yeah, what is the VDOM?
Yes, so the VDOM is, as you said, is the first app-connected prosthetic genital device. I know that's like a whole mouthful. That could go from flaccid to erect at the push of a button via your smartphone or your smartwatch.
And why the story behind it. So you know what I mean? In your life, you don't. What do you want to be when you grow up? Those kind of the questions you get up is how. Tell us the story behind it. Like why? Where's your passion from, and where? Because you know anyone that works in this industry has a story, but also is prepared to kind of really smash taboos and be judged, and so you've got to really believe in what you're doing. So where's that? Where's that come from?
Absolutely. So it definitely came out of necessity. I identify as a lesbian woman, and just some of the products that are out there on the market are just, off the shelf. They just don't get the job done full circle. So I'm sitting around with friends one night after dinner at my house, and after a couple bottles of wine, uh, I was just like, it'd be really cool if we had a product that did A, B, C, or D. All of my friends turn around. The entire house is LGBTQ. They turn around and like, oh, here you go, with these really broad, crazy ideas. And then at the same time in unison, everybody stops and was like, you know what, that actually would be a really good idea. Because the whole thought is like, to be able to have spontaneous sex anytime, anywhere you want and not have any restrictions or have any, discomfort when having to put on certain types of devices that are pretty much one size fits all. So it really just came more so again out of necessity and just really understanding like, hey, is there a market for this? Has it been created? What else is out there? And when I discovered that there was nothing like it, I started going full speed ahead.
And that's the thing that over like the last few years, that's what's amazing with tech, isn't it? It's sort of this combination of the needs in the outside world and changing the sexual sort of environment and combining that with technology and AI and to create these unbelievable but with the VDOM as well, because what's amazing about it, it's not, some people say it's, could call it sort of a strap-on alternative, and you could look at it as this fun product, but actually there's quite a serious side to it. This whole prosthetic side of, paraplegic and erectile dysfunction. So it's not just sort of a lesbian toy, so to
Correct.
speak. And how much when you launched, how much did you look in? Did that come in to play, and sort of did you do a lot of research on it? Like, what did you find were sort of the biggest challenges out there?
Definitely. So that part of it came, of course, after I started to go down the path of doing extensive research, realizing just how limited to no existence there were, in terms of prosthetics. And then the necessity from outside of, just wanting to be able to have that lifestyle product, and seeing that there's a whole group of people, individuals with disabilities, individuals with erectile dysfunction that just didn't have an option other than surgeries that are super invasive. And I'm putting two and two together. I'm like, wait a minute, there's prosthetic arms and legs, why not genitals? Like, why hasn't anybody tapped into this? So doing a little bit more digging, realized that again, there was just nothing out there. There was no options. So I started to bring in, during the research process, I started to bring in consultants, those who specialize in those with physical disabilities, those who specialize in men who have erectile dysfunction. And every last one of them said the same thing. You just have to have surgery. You just have to have surgery. Or you have to, for men with erectile dysfunction, you have to utilize a pill. And I started to look at the statistics and said, okay, well, you're still missing a whole ton of people. So are you telling me that there's like all these people walking around the world who are just not having enjoyable sex or don't have the ability to have sex. I just think that's not fair. So just went ahead and said, you know what? This is going to be more of a prosthetic. I will take it away from the realm of just a sex toy that you can grab off the shelf, and just let's go a little bit deeper. I'm a techie by heart, so I said, okay, let's see what we can, add from a technological standpoint to make this even more advanced than what it necessarily probably needs to be, and that's how we went down that path.
And on the so how does it is it like a one size fits all type thing, or how does it work on sizing? Or because obviously that paraplegia, or if you've already got a penis there and erectile dysfunction and it's there, how does it go about? Like, what's the nitty gritty of attaching or over the top, or just that bit?
Yeah, sure. So our newest design, and the one that's actually coming to market, is actually an extension. We call it our flexi cushion. So it's our patented flexi cushion that's the base of the actual device itself. I wish I would have had a picture with it right now, but I don't, unfortunately. Sorry. But we call it the flexi cushion, and it's an extension. It's a diamond shaped extension of the actual shaft of the device that flexes, and as you insert it into the O-ring, which is a part of the custom underwear, you open it back up, and then you could actually form it to however your pelvis sits. With men who have erectile dysfunction, we've tested it, and it actually does sit flush just as easily on the pelvic area as well for men. So men who with erectile dysfunction, with the current version that we have of the VDOM, they will pretty much wear it like they would a traditional strap-on if they utilize a traditional strap-on, which a lot of men do. But as far as the female anatomy, it literally sits directly flush to the body with that flexi cushion that is part silicone and part foam on the inside of it. And then it snaps in hands, all that good stuff.
Yeah. And is it like app controlled? Can you control it?
Yes, it is app controlled. Right now, the only communication level is via Bluetooth. We are going to add some Wi-Fi connectivity in some later versions, excuse me. And the Wi-Fi capability is more so for people who don't necessarily want to wear the device all day. They want to leave it with their partner. They can, and they can have, two-way communication via the mobile app as well. So that's where the Wi-Fi connectivity comes into play. But for right now, the first versions of it will be strictly Bluetooth.
So then, you don't get any of that the remote hacking into issues.
That part.
Although that's the thing, isn't it? It's amazing.
But
it's amazing to think that, especially like in the last year with couples separated and stuff, or people on their own, that actually you can, you can have virtual sex and operate someone else's toy and stuff. But then you do have I think I saw a CSI like cyber episode where sex toys got hacked into, and it's been in my brain ever since. That someone was out there with these dildos going, hey.
Yes. It happens way more than people really realize. And I actually, in my daytime life, I work in information security, cybersecurity, and so security is at the top of the list for me. And so I just, always, challenge the team. How can we make this as secure as possible, but still convenient? So we put a lot of security pieces inside of the mobile app as well as the device. For the mobile app itself, there's a lot of, authentication you have to do to get inside the application. But also we have some blackout time features on the actual device itself. So you can't have any accidents, and no one, even if someone did hack it, it's basically like a blackout period to where the device couldn't accidentally come on. So we have a couple of things in place just for that reason.
And in the because you said being a lesbian yourself and coming up with the idea with friends or LGBT, in that what have you kind of like growing up in this world, and which was a very straight world when you were growing up, everything was geared around that, and what did you sort of look at and go, that's not right, this is all straight, and actually there's nothing for me? And what made you angry and wanted to see in the world when it came to that kind of
Yeah, for sure. Well, just the fact that there was just nothing out there. I mean, if you go into a sex shop or a retailer, every single product out there, it pretty much looks the same. You're going to get the same uncomfortable straps that go around your body, and it's a one size fits all. It's so uncomfortable. You're going to get the same type of um, shaft on the actual device itself or product itself. It's going to pretty much be the same thing. You got different sizes, different colors, but it's still just a stiffy.
It'll look like a penis.
Exactly. Or it looks like just, it looks like a penis. So it's a lot of those things that, we were just trying to really just get in front of. It's like you can only use this at one time in one form of fashion. We wanted to be able to challenge that and add that convenience factor in there, add that comfort factor in there, and really just take those challenges on head first.
And what do you think? Do you think, because I was like thinking about it when I was thinking about this, the chat and prosthetic genitals, and I actually, obviously being a straight woman, prosthetic genitals, I immediately thought prosthetic clitorises. Do you think there's actually, and then I was like, I think I was having a conversation with my mum. My mum was like, what are you talking about? That, how can it? And I said, I'm sure that actually you get prosthetic arms and legs that then connect to your nerves, and that's what triggers and makes it work. So surely like prosthetic like clitorises, when it comes to like female genital mutilation or actually down that, my brain goes off probably like yours does. I was gone into this, I literally can visualize this prosthetic attached to all the nerves and actually getting pleasure back for all these females that so can you make that please?
Yeah. So you know what? I just lit up when you started talking about that, because that is a super nerd in me that is already down that path, working with different types of sensors, working with different types of human anatomy in terms of how the brain and the body works when it comes to arousal. Already working on a lot of those technologies in the background. I probably should have let that cat out the bag already, but
I'll sue you for nicking my idea. It's fun.
I know, right? Super advanced for us, but it's definitely something that's on our list in the future. I believe that, why not? Let's see how far we could go with this. Let's utilize every piece of technology that is available to create solutions for people that really actually need this. So yeah.
That's the thing. It's like the World Health Organization has said that, sexual pleasure is a basic human right. But you look at so many women in the world who can't have it because that's been taken away from them, and men with issues. So actually, why? Yeah, but it should be focused on.
Absolutely.
And thought about. And what are sort of the biggest taboos? Because I mean, we talk about sex, and we were saying earlier the reason why we're streaming across these social media platforms is because like Instagram locked us from doing live chats about anything to do with sex on there. And like, what have sort of been the biggest taboos that you have come across in your life, and they and actually the things that kind of fire you up, the challenges around it?
Oh my gosh, where should I start? The really biggest thing is just utilizing the word sex, utilizing the word genital. Like 90% of us didn't get here by one or the other in some form of fashion. It's just been astronomically crazy to me. We have been ridiculously censored. We're automatically dumped into a bucket of adult content, sex toy. That's it. There's no other question about it. And it really bothers me because a lot of the content that we put out on our social media platforms is really geared towards educating. It's geared towards educating, but also the acceptance of lifestyles. And, this is a solution for a certain type of lifestyle or a certain type of individual. So to be restricted and censored when it comes to just because we're using the word genital or because it looks like a male replica of a genital tool that we really don't even show on our social media, it's just been a headache. It's been a headache. The word sex is so taboo, and I still haven't figured that out just yet. But I will say this, and I'm going to rag on the U.S., that it's really more so the U.S. with a lot more restrictions than what I've seen with overseas. And I'm still trying to tap into that as well. But it's been a headache. It's been a big headache for sure.
Yeah, and when you went to launch, when you went, right, I'm going to have this idea and this is what I'm going to do, did you face backlash from friends, family, like people around you going, what are you doing?
To be honest, I have a very strong support system. So everyone, my parents, everybody has been super like, this is amazing. This is going to be such a great solution for so many people. The people that I get the biggest eyebrow raisers from, and it has been very interesting, is one, men who identify as heterosexual men, who are business leaders, VCs, the investors, and having those conversations with business people, who are just like, this is just way too much. I see the dollar signs go off in their head, but then they back off of it because it's just way too taboo. So it's interesting to me that they would back away from something that could be, you know, potentially a very good investment just because it includes the word sex or the word genital. So that's been one of the shockers for sure.
And do you think on that though, there's this, because I've had this conversation with like you know, dildo companies, sex tech on that front, there when it comes to investment stuff, there's also that, but then you have it with normal people where husbands and boyfriends feel threatened by a vibrator. Do you think there's an element of if you're replacing a penis in any shape or form, then you're literally saying we don't need you. You know, we
To
don't.
be honest,
It's kind of a replacement, and that's how a lot of people, especially guys, see it as it's instead of an actual penis. You know,
honestly, I think that that's a part of it, because that all ties back to ego, and we all know that ego, especially in you know, business world, or whether it's, you know, in the bedroom, ego can be a very very strong piece of the puzzle. I think also is that it brings out, if someone, I feel like sometimes if someone feels if they're interested in it, then it must mean that something is wrong here for them. And I think that that's a lot of it as well, just because some of the reactions that I've had. I did a pop-up shop about 2 weeks ago at a location that was very heterosexual, and just to see, you know, what the responses were when I talked to people one-on-one. And 90% of the time, everybody's eyebrows went up and they were like, okay, yeah, I don't need that. They walked off slowly. Um, so it was like, okay, I sort of see the reaction here. People don't want to show that they're interested, even though that they are. It's a little bit of ego. It's a little bit of, again, we go back to that taboo piece as well.
and that thing on the a lot of people that they associate like a strap on or the VDOM as it's a penis. And that's where I think you get that. I mean, in lesbian sex, there is that kind of harsh kind of judgment of, well, why do you need it? Why, if you're not into, you know, men and willies, why are you even sort of having that in there as well? Do you think in your, what's been the feedback like within the sort of the LGBT, well, especially the lesbian community, of what you're doing?
Yeah, and that was going to be the other half of it. It has been very interesting. So the LGBT community is, it is a very cool community, but it is very wide and long. Is no pun intended, but it is it's a very interesting community because there are so many different levels to the mentality of embracing your sexuality within the community. And because of that, you have a huge group of individuals who are like, I don't need a male replica of a penis. Here you go again, creating these phallic, you know,
It's all about the man.
toys. And it's like, why is that? I don't need a man. I'm not a man. I'm like, it's not about that. It's about buying something that you probably more than likely are going to use silently in your room. Or if it's not for you, it's not for you. But we have gotten a lot of different feedback. We've gotten some where it's like, if you are a lesbian, why do you need a product that is a male replica? Just go be with a man. And so we've had to have that conversation. It's like, yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but you're not putting this together. I don't mind having penetration. It's just, I just don't want it from a guy. I am a lesbian. So
Yeah.
It's like you have to explain it and get them over their hump. But within the community, it's been, you know, you have a few naysayers, but majority of the ones we've communicated with so far has completely embraced it.
Yeah, because that's the thing. A lot of people, there's so much attachment, isn't there? They're very black and white, men and women, on, you know, you like penises or you don't. You know, you're straight or you're, and actually, rather than actually, it's a tool and it's experience and it's exploring together, and you know, it's like we've found that and actually, your the VDOM would be great for it. We found that pegging Like there's some of our most sold. We do pegging workshops, and they sell out so quickly. And we started doing them because we were looking like search and SEO searches of like what questions people asked within the sex world and what do they want to know. And what is pegging was the most asked question. And
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, at the time, I thought it was putting clothes pegs all over your body because at a party, someone had turned up with a suitcase of clothes pegs, and him and his wife would come out covered in clothes pegs, and that to me was pegging. And the girls in the office had to explain, no, that's not what pegging is. So there is that, and that's when a man, and it's often a straight man, wants to be pegged. So is that the VDOM to me is going down that route as well of
Yes.
exploring together.
Yes, pegging took me by storm. I will tell you. When I learned what it was, somebody mentioned it to me about probably about 8 months into the process of building the VDOM, and they were like, "This would be great for pegging," and I was like, "What's pegging? What is that?"
Not just
So when I learned about it, and actually, you know what? It was from an email from a person who came through our website and just asked, "Would this work for pegging?" That's what it was. And so I was like, "What is pegging? I don't know what to say to this person." So I had to go research it. I looked and I was like, "Whoa, that's a real question." Okay, let's see how many people are really interested in this. And come to find out, there are tons.
Lots. Yeah.
I mean, a lot. I think that we could sell out of our first 1,000 units with just pegging people.
Big time.
Period.
If you SEO your blogs and your digital promo with that word, then you're nailing
Yeah.
it. Well, literally.
But I think it's cool though. I think it's showing that people are starting to come out of their shells when it comes to their sexuality. I think that sex positivity is what's most important, and as long as it's positive and the platform is positive and it's consensual, do whatever you want. If you want to hang from the top of your gutters off your house and drop onto pay, yeah, go for it. It's just like I feel like if the more open people are, the more better behavior we would actually have with our sexualities. If people really embrace it.
And has that been because actually the more you look at the VDOM, the more and the more we're talking, it's not because often you get a lot of products they're so specific. You know what I mean? They're so specific for. Is that something that actually you've been aware of and has crossed your mind of actually you've created something that it's not there's not a label attached to of who it's for. It seems to cross, from lesbians to straight couples to paraplegics to erectile dysfunction. There's a whole range.
Yeah. And like I said, to start out, it was, hey, I'm a lesbian woman and this is something I know a lot of my friends would use. But once I started to realize, who would utilize it, it made me form the design of the product a little bit more to be accommodating to those different groups. So for instance, being able to wear it all day, any day. And if you wanted to show that you actually have something on, so if you wanted to show that you were packing, you could. But if you don't, it can be very discreet as well. Even if you have, a slim pair of jeans. The other aspect of it is, working with those with physical disabilities. We added, a voice recognition aspect to the mobile app as well, if they can't utilize their hands in some form or fashion. So there's just things like that. For erectile dysfunction, even though we have our first iteration, we are working on a technology where we can create a sleeve that does the exact same thing, where men can actually put the sleeve onto their own penis as well. So it started making us formulate how to redesign and some of the future designs of the product as well, once we started to really understand who could utilize this product.
Very clever. I'm seeing party tricks now. Of like, people are out and suddenly it's like you're just sitting next to someone. It's like
I know, right? Exactly.
There's all sorts. Exactly. There's all sorts going on in my head at the moment. And because you've got a tech background, so you come from that. Now, how and being very interested, just very sex positive. How has that sort of influenced you, or how important do you think actually is the tech world? When it comes to actually opening up the conversations around sex and making everything more accessible?
Yeah, I think that technology has definitely taken the turn of being applicable in way more arenas than usual. So because of that, with the sex tech revolution, I mean, it was just called sex toy industry at one point. But once, Cindy Gallup started to
Love
coin the
Cindy.
word sex tech and really push, the industry in a different direction. And it's like everybody started to attach to it because they saw, yes, technology can take sex in a whole different direction. So let's explore all the levels to this. And I think that that's the most beautiful thing about, the sex tech industry, and why the projections of how successful it's going to be is so important, and it is so real, because technology is always changing. It's never going to get dull. It's never going to be a dull moment in technology. So because of that, with combining sex and combining technology, the possibilities are just astronomical. So I think that, we're going in a really great direction. The industry is booming, and it's only going to get better. And even, one thing that I have really been studying over the last 6 months was, like brain interface technology, where you can actually control a device using the thoughts in your head. So a lot of people get aroused mentally before they actually get aroused physically. I want to tap into that. And, how are you feeling? Let's see if the device will actually react to how you're feeling. Just like, a natural erection, that occurs with the human anatomy. So I just feel like technology can take us in so many directions with the sex tech industry and products.
Nice. I was getting that visual again of sat at an awkward dinner party, and you're thinking thoughts, and suddenly you're like giving yourself away.
Exactly. I imagine it all the time, where it's like a person who identifies as a female is sitting at a dinner party, even with her partner's business or something, and she forgets to put it in blackout mode. What happens then if you have this type of technology that's involved, and all of a sudden you have a Woody in your pants at a dinner party? So I imagine those things, and it's really cool to me. It's cool to me to have those possibilities.
Yeah, and it's cool. And that's the thing, and it's not, as we said right at the beginning, what's amazing about it and what you're doing. And actually, so many different, there's so much sex tech out there, like Handy's another one, and other ones who actually are really fixing issues and going in the sex world, that actually sex should be for everyone. It shouldn't just be for, skinny white straight girls.
Right.
It is literally everyone should have access to it, and that's amazing with what you're doing, the prosthetics and the tech involved. And there's so many people. Finally, before I go, what's your advice? Because there's so many people who have ideas, but actually making it happen. Like, what would your advice be to actually turn it into reality?
You
Apart from
have to be
money.
tenacious. You have to be tenacious. Because honestly, I don't even know how I got here. I just kept going. I kept going. I went to listen to huge, really cool entrepreneur Tristan Walker. He is the CEO of Bevel. He was, which is a product that is geared towards the African American community, and he was given a speech. He was just acquired by Procter and Gamble. That's what it was. Did a really big deal with them. So he was giving a speech, and someone asked him in the crowd. He said, "Hey, how do you, what's the biggest, downfall for entrepreneurs? How do people fail?" And he said two things. He said they either give up or they run out of money. So every single day I'm doing what I do to get this product to market. I always say, let me just make sure I don't run out of money, and let me make sure that I just don't give up. And that's just keeps pushing me forward. And then do everything I possibly can to do it the right way and the best way, even though I tapped into a market in an arena that I wasn't really familiar with. Consumer products, electronics, that is just not my forte. So I had to learn as I went. Engineering, human anatomy, all of those things I had to learn as I went. And it's just like, you just got to keep pushing. You got to keep pushing, and make sure you don't run out of money. I was blessed enough to be able to fund a lot of the business myself before we brought in our first investors. So I just make sure I just keep keep making sure there's money in the loop, I guess.
Cool. Well, do you know what? Thank you so much for chatting us through the VDOM. It's amazing, and yeah, as we were saying right before we went live, I'd love to see it. See a few there, and then like our clitorati parties and stuff. I think the girls would. In fact, all our parties, it'd be quite a good party trick.
Absolutely. I
But do
will
you know
make
what?
sure that you have
In
one
all,
of the
yeah,
testers.
in all seriousness, I think it's amazing on a just access to people that can't, and it's opening up a whole new world for loads of paraplegics who just can't and probably thought they could never ever get to that place. So thank you for doing what you do. And I'm sure we will meet when we're allowed at some point.
Absolutely. Thank you so